Today is May 26th, 2014, and you're listening to Comm Chatter Off Duty, the show we use to fill the gaps between actual Comm Chatter. With me as always,
Alderin Garand.
and I am of course Pixley of the non-kernel variety. Today, discussion topic. And that's all. That's all we're doing today. The question is, why roleplay? In Star Citizen, specifically.
Yeah,
So-
I'm afraid you'll be listening to Pixley mostly, because, well, I'll explain why later on into this.
Ironically, this was his idea.
Yes.
Well, as is the whole show, and
Both of them.
yeah, yeah, like, he has all the ideas and I just do all the talking, it's great. Anyway, so,
Brief moments of brilliance.
indeed. Alrighty, well, before we get into the discussion proper, we have to make a distinction here. Playing the role, which is what we're talking about, and RPG mechanics. RPG mechanics being like leveling and skills and other such things that anyone who's even remotely following Star Citizen would know Star Citizen does not have. However, Star Citizen is a good RPG in that you can play the role. And that's what we're going to talk about in this little episode here. So, you might be wondering, what inspired us to do role-playing in Star Citizen? I mean, we do a podcast about it, something must, make us interested enough to role-play in Star Citizen. So what inspired us? Well, neither of us had ever really role-played in a video game before, but we were both very much influenced by Senate Van Ryn's Stars Oratoria, which was a Star Citizen podcast that has since ended. Well, ended before we started. We started because it ended. But it was a good show. Didn't do everything in character, but it had enough to kind of plant the seed in my mind.
Yes, it was somewhere between this and standard Comm Chatter. He did a really good job at blending the two, like in character and out of character, without making them clash.
Indeed. It was very well done.
Although he did say there would be an episode 10, I'm a little disappointed it never happened.
Yeah. Hopefully we can make it to 10.
Yes.
That's our goal. Make it to 10. Well, actually, the better goal would probably be make it until the game actually comes out. That'd probably be a better goal.
And beyond.
Well, obviously, but have some legitimacy by making it until the game releases.
Yeah, back to the point.
Back to the point. Some other things that inspired me specifically are Dungeons and Dragons and other tabletop games. I got really into those, and still am. I'm a dungeon master for a club at my school. I'm also a huge fan of world building. Like any franchise which does a lot of world building, even in its first title. A great example for which I'll get into in a moment here. That really is something I'm into. I love world building and being able to interact with that world, such as the case with Mass Effect, which has the world building and the in-character interaction as Commander Shepard. I just really dig that, and that's why Mass Effect is my thus far favorite series of games. So that's kind of where I'm coming from as to why I'm role-playing.
Now, you may expect me to have some experience in roleplay, like Pixley does, whether in a tabletop game or online, but I don't. In fact, the only two games I can think of off the top of my head where one could have, at least with other people, would have been EVE Online and Pirates of the Burning Sea. Although I never actually did any of it. But this is a bit of a learning experience, and you know, when I first got into it, I thought it would be just like would have a really steep learning curve, as it were, to figure out what to do and how to do it. But it's really about how you go at it. I mean, basically, my character, Alderin Garand, is me. He would be what I would be was I taken out of my office or wherever I'm playing from and thrown into the cockpit or my hangar or wherever. So that's the entire acting character taken care of. Nothing special to do.
Yeah, and that's
From there, it's
oh, go ahead.
from there it's just making a backstory if you want one.
And that's definitely a great place to start, I think. I mean, that's kind of how I started with D&D back in high school. As for me, the Colonel's a little bit of me, but a lot more of my dad and just other qualities that I personally don't have, but I think would be good for a person to have in the situation in which I've kind of built the Colonel. Because I kind of thought up the whole benevolent anti-pirate bounty hunter type dude before I actually came up with the specific character, so I kind of built him around that. But yeah, there's a lot of my dad in him, which makes sense because my dad's a fighter pilot and so's the Colonel. So, of course, other big component of this is why roleplay in Star Citizen specifically. Well, it kind of boils down to three things for me: presence, universe, and freedom. Which sounds way cooler than it actually is. That just those were the kind of terms I came up with. So presence is about actually being in the cockpit, which, I mean, that was like the thing that sold basically everyone on the game back in the beginning, and I would assume so now. I don't know. I don't know the mentality of people who come into Star Citizen later. But actually being in the cockpit is really important for having presence in the universe. I mean, you can't really roleplay something you're not inhabiting very well, which is why the concept of role-playing in World of Warcraft never appealed to me, because I was just a floating, disembodied camera, like 50 meters behind my actual character. I'm just the puppeteer. Like,
Yeah,
Pixley in WoW was just an avatar of Pixley, the real person. You were going to say something. I'm sorry.
yeah, it's like the difference between actually being there and watching a movie, basically.
Indeed.
I mean, that's probably the best way to put it.
Yeah. And another part of that is how the user interface will be in the game, because we've got the Moby Glass, which is going to be strapped to our wrists, and the HUD will be attached to our heads, or you know, on the display panels within our ships, as opposed to a UI like, again, WoW, which is just this 2D thing you have, and that's just there. It's not immersive. It's just like, yeah, this is your stuff all plastered on your screen, as opposed to something part of the universe. And last thing in regards to presence, which is one of the things that sold me on the game, and it's the reason why I continue to throw money at it, is the Oculus Rift. I mean, that's like presence incarnate, at least with the current level of technology for humanity as of May 2014. So, all those things, you know, give one presence, and the capacity to be present in the universe is important for role-playing, I think. Like, in the case of tabletop, you've got just, your imagination, which that can be good. But in the case of other games, there's that barrier that your imagination can't fill this, can't like pierce this barrier, fill the gap, or however you want to phrase the metaphor. So, Star Citizen's special in that regard to me. Next thing is the universe. I mean, Star Citizen has lore out the ass. I mean, the crowdfunding campaign was lore thing after lore thing after lore thing. There's this huge timeline that they put out at the beginning, and they have the in-universe news, articles, advertisements. I mean, all the advertisements for the ships have been done from an in-universe perspective, and that's amazing. It really makes me feel like I'm part of this. I mean, the Colonel can actually react to the Hornet commercial, as he did way back when. Well, that was like 6 months ago. Anyway.
And,
oh, go ahead.
Sorry. And not only that, but the lore just continues and continues. And eventually, we ourselves, like as characters, may actually be part of said lore.
That is also another important thingy. Thank you.
Yeah, we actually have impact on what happens.
Yeah.
Well, if we're lucky.
Yeah. Depends on how powerful we are. I doubt Pick and Shield will be quite powerful enough to influence galactic politics, but we'll see. Maybe. I doubt it, though.
You never know. Suddenly, Bengal. and it's gone.
And it's gone. Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like something I'd manage to do. Anyway, and the last thing, universe, is just like how they've managed to give even the dogfighting module its place in the lore as arena commander. That's brilliant, and again makes it so that is something the Colonel can react to, as opposed to this abstract thing that we just can never talk about. I mean, I intend to stream playing arena commander, and I can do that in character as opposed to as just normal everyday Pixley. I don't think I'm as interesting as the Colonel is. I mean, I probably could be, but it'd certainly be more fun to play as the Colonel as opposed to just me. I think. We'll see. And last thing, freedom. This game, at least with the current design, subject to change, etc., but I mean, this is kind of an important thing in the game, so it's probably won't. There's no leveling, there's no skills, there's none of that to hold you back. You can do whatever you want, be whoever you want to be, and that, I think that makes it really special. You can have a character who goes from one career to another all the time, just drifting between things, as opposed to being locked into a class or a certain set of skills that you'll never be able to pull out of. I mean, one day, not saying this is going to happen, I mean, it would make me sad if I did this, but the Colonel could say, I don't want to fight pirates anymore. I want to be a weapons dealer. The Colonel could go do that. And not a lot of games have that. And I think that's something that makes Star Citizen special. So, yeah. Star Citizen, really good for this stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I wish I could put more in for this, but really, you just hit the nail on the head.
Why, thank you.
Is there anything else you want to go over?
No,
Anything?
I do believe we've covered basically everything about it. I think, though, if anyone has any questions about role-playing that they would want us to answer or cover, whatever, they should send it to pickandshield@gmail.com, and, make sure you indicate that it's an out-of-character thing for off-duty, and we could talk about it. I mean, this is a really complex subject, and we've kind of only scratched the surface. I mean, we kind of, like, I think especially with building characters, that's something we kind of only lightly brushed over, but is something that some people may really want to know about. And if they want to know about that should just email at pickandshield@gmail.com, and I'll bring it up in our next off duty.
And of course, there's also the forum thread, and
YouTube comments.
yes, and they enabled private messages on the forum, right?
Yeah.
So they can contact us directly there as well.
Yes, they can. So if you want to send something through the RSI forums, you can shoot it to Pixley. That's my handle, and yeah, in case you don't want to use email. So you have plenty of avenues by which to contact us for whatever content you would like us to cover. Because role-playing is really important to us, and I personally hope more people get involved. Because the more people that role-play, the more stories that can develop because of that.
And
go ahead.
And quite frankly, I think we forgot about a lot of stuff here.
Oh, yes.
I can't think of anything right now, but I just can't shake the feeling.
Yeah, totally. So that's what the audience is for.
Yeah. Tell us what we're doing wrong.
Indeed. So, I know this was a short one, but that kind of makes up for how long our last one was. It's not really our goal to make these too terribly long. Certainly not longer than proper Comm Chatter. So, yeah, but that's our little overview on role-playing in Star Citizen. So, yeah. Have a good day, everybody.
See you next time. And I think I know what we could name that Bengal. It's a little bit more of a personal thing for me, but there's a second reason.
Go on.
I'm thinking enigma, because enigma is another word for question. And you know what that question is?
No, I don't know what the question is.
How the hell did we get this ship?
Well, why not just make that the name of the ship? How the hell did we get the PNSS? Actually, no, that's terrible. We should never label our ships like that. The PSS. How the hell did we get this?
PNS.
No. No. Then the second S just made it worse for me somehow.
Right. Okay, yeah. That's all.
Bye, everybody. That's all staying in.